This is Red, White, and Bluegrass.
The Supreme Court steps were packed with advocates on both sides of the debate around medical treatments for transgender minors. The case stems from a Tennessee law banning puberty blockers or hormone therapy for transgender kids. A similar law has been in effect in Kentucky since last year. The Biden administration argues that the law is a form of discrimination because the same treatments can be used for minors dealing with early or late onset puberty. Tennessee argues the law regulates medicine based on the patient's age and would fall in the state's power.
Law restricts medical care only when provided to induce physical effects inconsistent with birth sex. Someone assigned female at birth can't receive medication to live as a male, but someone assigned male can. That's a facial sex classification, full stop.
The Equal Protection Clause does not require the states to blind themselves to medical reality or to treat unlike things the same. And it does not constitutionalize one side's view of a disputed medical question.
Now, we won't know until this summer how the court will end up ruling. Senator Tichenor, I'll start this segment with you here. You supported the Kentucky version of this bill whenever it went through last year. What are your early impressions of the arguments being made in this case?
Well, I think it's one of the most important issues, I think, in our lifetime. And if you would have told my grandmother when she was young that this was an issue we would come up before, that a child can try to change their gender medically, she wouldn't have believed it. It's truly incredible that this is where we are in our country. I think it is going to be an interesting debate between our Supreme Court justices. I feel like it's going to lean favorably to uphold the Tennessee law, which is similar to Kentucky's law. And ultimately, our goal is to protect children from life-altering consequences that they can't turn from. And in the decisions being made as children, really, do we understand fully what those implications will be down the road? We don't yet. Although we have watched nation after nation in Europe turn back from any type of alteration to a child to try and change their gender, I think we will see it rule favorably, and hopefully we can move away from this issue.
Senator Thomas, your impressions of the case?
Well, boy, it's no secret I voted against Senate Bill 150. You know, the beautiful thing, Bodie, about our Constitution is that it's a living, breathing, expanding document. There are a number of things going back to 1789 that were different about our lifestyle then that have changed. And over time, we've accepted those changes for the good of our country. I think we have to respect a person's wishes if they want to decide that that's not who they are and they want to change their being. I have no problem with that. Going to the court's decision, I listened to what I heard and followed the arguments in the Supreme Court. It seemed, because of the conservative nature of our Supreme Court, that they were leaning toward making it a states' rights issue, much as they did with the abortion case when they overturned Roe v. Wade. You know, I'm not very pleased by that, but as I think about Kentucky now, particularly after the election, you know, I would say our state Supreme Court is probably a little bit more moderate in their viewpoint than the current makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court. So that may not be a bad result for Kentucky to say, for them to say that's a states' rights issue, because that may actually benefit Kentucky in terms of having a more moderate view of gender-affirming care.
I want to refer back to some comments that Senator Carroll made whenever this was being debated last year. He said that, you know, ultimately this is an issue, a discussion that we're going to have to at some point come back to the table on, that it won't necessarily be going away and the attitudes are changing. What would either of y'all say to constituents of yours that may be dealing with this, or they know people that identify as transgender that feel like they're being targeted or that they're being singled out?
Well, if I can just say this issue, and back to your comment, Senator Thomas, this is about children. This is not about adults making adult decisions to alter their bodies. This is about children. And what we know of brain development, the frontal lobe does not develop until about 25 years old, and that's where you understand consequences. So to say that a child could potentially have puberty blockers or altering surgery to try and change their sex, which is an impossible thing to do. You cannot undo every cell in your body that tells you you're male or female. But to say that a child could do that, that's what this is about. Their frontal lobe is not developed. They have no idea the ultimate consequences of their actions and how that will affect their long-term health. And we look at, there really are no long-term studies on children. They've done long-term studies on adults. And what they've found for adults who have transitioned, they're 19 times more likely to commit suicide post-surgery. And so we don't even have data on children. So that's really what this issue is about. And again, I'm confident, and I hope as a nation we just set this aside and we move forward with the reality that a male is a male and a female is a female. And when people become adults, that's a different issue. But as far as children go, they need to develop in the natural course of their bodies.
I'll let you get a chance to respond before we wrap up.
Well, I know you got to wrap up. 2 quick points. Number one, 15, 16, 17-year-olds could not have this surgery without the consent of their parents. They're minors. No doctor would allow this to happen without the consent of the parents. If the parents want to consent, then there's no reason to stop it. Secondly, Bodie, is that when you hear Senator Tichenor talk about suicide, these suicides come, Bodie, because of the ostracism, because of derision that they feel, because they want to be who they are. Society, wants to condemn them from doing that. That's what's causing the suicides, not the fact that they truly want to be who they are and want to be recognized for who they are.
Well, certainly want to see a good outcome for everybody that's involved. We'll have to leave it right there, but we still have much more ahead this morning.